What happened to the Fortnite World Cup winners? Let's go.
100 of the best Fortnite players on Earth would battle it out for millions of dollars in the Fortnite World Cup, and for 10 of them, everything changed overnight. Whilst everyone remembers Bugha, who came in first place, what about the rest of the top 10? The prodigies, the underdogs, and the controversial figures? Did they rise into esports stardom or quietly disappear? Starting with 10th place Fatch, who many considered the worst player to qualify, who at just 15 years old would take home $225,000.
Hey, 200 grand is
2
200
days later,
grand, though.
he would stream on Twitch to a peak of 76 viewers, but Fatch didn't seem interested in growing his social media, and he'd barely stream for the rest of the year, leaving people wondering why he was so inactive. Following the World Cup, Fatch wouldn't have any more earnings for the rest of 2019, and 2020 would see him earn just over $2,000, a 99% decrease from the year prior. But he continued to grind Fortnite, with him bouncing back to make $17,000 in 2021, $60,000 in 2022, and $20,000 in 2023. But 2024 would spell the end of Fatch's pro Fortnite career, with him announcing his retirement on Twitter, stating that the game wasn't fun for him anymore. Next was Riversan in 9th place, taking home $300,000 at...
Man, I remember how old I was during the World Cup, bro. I was like 9, not like 8. I was like 8 years old during the World Cup. Was I? 2016. Take off 6 years. I was like 11. Whatever. But it was so fun to watch. Honestly, it was so fun. It was peak. It was a peak Fortnite. It was literally peak Fortnite. It was the greatest. It was the greatest prime of any game of all time. Nothing touched it ever. Nothing touches that. And honestly, if it weren't for tournaments in Fortnite like the World Cup, where would competitive be right now? Let's be honest. Where would it be? We don't know. Maybe FNCS wouldn't have been a thing, and we wouldn't have had an esport. Man, Fortnite tournaments. This is where it all started. World Cup, where it all started.
17 years old. Following the World Cup, he continued to stream and compete, and placed well in many more tournaments throughout the rest of 2019. 2020 was another strong year, with $22,000 in earnings, and then $37,000 the following year of 2021. But despite placing first in the FNCS All-Star Showdown, this would prove...
This guy won FNCS All-Star Showdown? Riversan, that's right. Riversan was a great pro.
To be the final Fortnite event Riversan would ever make money from. And in 2022, he would start playing Valorant much more often on stream, leading to March 2023, when he would officially announce his retirement from Fortnite. Following this, he would consistently stream to around 10 viewers on Twitch, but eventually disappeared on February 2024 with his last ever stream, with his TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter all deleted. In 8th place, we have Nate, who would take home $375,000 at 16 years old. After the World Cup, he continued to make a huge amount of money from tournament earnings. His stream was also doing very well, peaking at 4,000 live viewers in November 2019. 2020 was another huge year of success, with Nate earning over $70,000. And although he was streaming quite inconsistently, he'd peak at 19,000 live viewers. The following year of 2021, Nate would make $56,000. However, 2022 would prove to be the end of Nate's Fortnite career, making just $200 for the whole year, and he was now playing Valorant on stream. And by 2023, Nate was ghost, and would only go live 5 times, despite peaking at 5,000 live viewers. Then in 2024, he'd go live just once, and then disappear for almost 2 years, before returning in November 2025 for 4 Valorant streams. And although he hasn't gone live once in 2026, Nate hasn't completely vanished, and appears to still be competing in Valorant to this day. Next up in 7th place, we have Skite, taking home $525,000 at 19 years old. But that wasn't it. Skite also placed in the top 10 of the Fortnite World Cup duos as well, bringing home another $225K, and turning out to be the only player in the world who would finish in the top 10 for both solo and duos. And Skite continued
accomplishment.
cooking throughout 2019,
Remember Skite,
ending the
bro,
year with
Skite?
730,000 in
This shit was
earnings.
really good.
Unfortunately though, 2020 would see a massive slowdown with just $17,500 in earnings. And 2021 was a bigger decline with $6,800 in earnings. And by 2022, it was $0, seeing him essentially retire. And like many other pros, Skite started playing Valorant instead. That was until
all Fortnite pros love Valorant, man. It's crazy. That's
2023,
like Benji, man.
when he'd returned to stream Fortnite to around 1,000 viewers on Twitch. But over 2024 and 25, he was very inconsistent, often disappearing for months. However, fascinatingly, Skite would make a return in February 2026, and unlike everyone else thus far, he's still publicly playing Fortnite as of present day, seeing him averaging around 200 live viewers, remaining active on Twitter, and posting Fortnite content to his YouTube and Instagram, with him now being head coach of the Fortnite team Vitality. And while Skite is still a prominent figure in Fortnite as of today, the same cannot quite be said of our next player, which was Crue, who came in 6th place, taking home $600,000. Following the World Cup, Crue would continue to have success as a pro, joining TSM EU the following month, and finishing the year with over $700,000 of earnings. But his pro Fortnite career would prove to be extremely short, and despite making $14,000 in 2020, at the end of the year he would completely disappear. After barely a year following a huge finish at the World Cup, Crue was ghost. And it's been over 5 years since there's been any sign of him, with his Twitter being deleted and his Instagram and Twitch completely inactive. A stark contrast from 5th place King, who at 13 years old would take home $900,000.
Such a good Fortnite player, bro.
The day after the World
Cup,
competing
to this day, I'm pretty sure.
To 13,000 viewers on Twitch, and quickly established himself as one of the biggest Fortnite.
He's super young too.
He continued to compete throughout the rest of 2019, ending the year with just over $1 million.
That's a lot of money, man. $1 million in 23 tournaments in Fortnite earnings is crazy. That's insane. That's actually crazy.
Earnings, not bad for a 13-year-old.
Fortnite prize pool back then was insane.
Esports. Then in 2020, he'd take Twitch very seriously, streaming consistently all throughout the year, averaging over
King still plays to this day. He's still a really good Brazilian player,
making $49,000 in tournament earnings. And in 2021, he'd continue streaming consistently to 5,000 viewers and made another $47,000 in earnings. And he'd be incredibly consistent for the next 4 years, making over 5 figures in earnings and streaming to thousands of viewers year after year. And it's safe to say that thus far, King has had by far the most successful career out of the players in the top 10. With over 2 million followers on Twitch, 500k on Twitter, a huge fan base on Instagram, and as of present day is still streaming Fortnite to 2,000 average viewers and getting hundreds of thousands of views on his recent Fortnite YouTube content. And considering he's only just turned 20, it's crazy how much he's achieved. Next up in 4th place is perhaps the most controversial player from the top 10.
Kreo?
That being Kreo.
Oh,
18
man,
years
Shockwave
old,
play, bro. No, the Shockwave play.
And the reason he was so controversial is because 5 months before the World Cup, Kreo had been kicked from Luminosity after a YouTube video was published, accusing him of scamming a young Fortnite player out of over $100. So just 5 months after getting dropped, Kreo had bounced back in style, and he would continue competing throughout the rest of 2019,
came back like a while
ago,
no? Like 2025.
Then in 2020, he would start to take streaming seriously, going live most days, averaging 2,000 viewers by the end of the year. The following 2 years would see a decline in his Twitch viewership and his prize earnings, with July 2022 proving to be the last event he'd ever make money from. He was then ghost for the first few months of 2023, he came back in May to do a few Fortnite streams, but he disappeared again, until returning in late July, when he'd then stream a completely different game called Maple Story for the rest of the year, averaging around 50 viewers. But 2024 would see him return to streaming Fortnite, until the summer when once again he would disappear. That was until 2025, when in January he'd start doing crypto streams on his Twitch. But just as the year prior, once the summer hit, Kreo would disappear for the rest of the year.
I feel like, chat, honestly, Fortnite pros, like when they quit, they either go to crypto and meme coins, or they go and play Valorant. Like, I feel like that's like the usual.
And the only sign of him in 2026 has been one single stream on the 1st of March, where he once again was doing some kind of crypto stream. And judging from the photos he posts on his Instagram, Kreo seems to be having a lot of fun traveling. On his TikTok, he refers to himself as a meme coin enthusiast. And on the free TikToks he posted of his new interest in crypto, the comments haven't been particularly friendly. People saying fall off needs to be studied, and people posting images of the Fortnite shockwave bomb, referring to when he lost
Kreo,
a 1v1 gunfight in game 1 against Bugha.
One of, if not the most career-defining moments in Fortnite history. If Kreo won that game and Courage didn't call that shockwave play, Kreo would have been a ginormous streamer. But since Bugha, the Lion, since he won that, and he had that iconic shockwave play moment, it's all been uphill for him. Like, honestly.
This sees us to EpikWhale, who came in 3rd place,
EpikWhale is still competing. He's still really good.
At just 16 years old. And unlike some of the other players we have discussed today, EpikWhale's Fortnite competitive career would see extreme longevity. And following 2019, every single year after, he has performed at the highest level, each year making 5, if not 6 figures from his competitive earnings. And whilst his Twitch wouldn't reach the heights of some other big names, he's been extremely consistent, averaging around 1,000 viewers up until 2025. What's fascinating to see is EpikWhale never once stepped away from Fortnite in all of the years following the World Cup, and he's still competing and streaming to present day. Unlike our next player, which was Sam, who had come in 2nd place making $1.8 million at 24 years old. He'd been making money as a pro gamer since 2015 with the game Heroes of the Storm, up until late 2018 when he'd made the switch to Fortnite.
Sam is like the ultimate Swiss Army knife. I'm pretty sure Sam has gone pro in like 5 different games. I think it's been like 5 different games he's gone pro, and he's been really good at and placed really high on all of them.
And despite his impressive performance at the World Cup, Sam would retire from competitive Fortnite just 8 months later, and in 2020 would start competing in Valorant instead, and would make around $4,000 in tournament earnings. But unfortunately, the next year of 2021 would see Sam make just $100. And despite having an average of 500 viewers watching his Twitch stream, he'd then disappear for almost a year, not coming back until mid-2022, where he started to stream Apex Legends instead. Then in 2023, he'd occasionally stream Valorant, but would disappear again for an entire year, until returning in late 2024 to stream a game called Deadlock. He'd then disappear until the 30th of May 2025, where he'd go live to play League of Legends on his Twitch. But this would turn out to be his final ever live stream, and he hasn't gone live again since, with his final activity coming on his Instagram, where he seems to be doing very well. And now being 31 years old,
31?
Break from
Yo, what?
Gaming. And finally, in 1st place, we have the winner of the Fortnite World Cup, which was Bugha, who'd win $3 million at just 16 years old, after finishing with far more points than anyone else in the...
Can I just say, the drop-off from 1st to 2nd in the World Cup is insane. If you won, you made $3 million. Like, that is crazy. That is crazy. But then if you got a couple points, like even 1 point lower, you're making half of it. Almost half of it, or less than half of it. Right? Yeah. Making less than half of it. It's crazy. Crazy drop-off.
Tournament. Immediately after, he was flooded with mainstream media attention, with his Jimmy Fallon interview getting 8 million views on YouTube, and his Today Show interview getting 2 million views. Before the World Cup, he'd been streaming to around 500 viewers, but afterwards that number would skyrocket into the tens of thousands, seeing him...
I still remember the clip of Bugha dropping from the battle bus, and like completely baiting everybody where he was gonna drop after getting stream sniped. there was just like a group of like 70 people dropping on Salty Springs. And he was dropping somewhere else, I'm pretty sure. That was a crazy clip. That was an insane
82,000 live viewers just a few days after the World Cup. And he kept grinding throughout the end of the year, averaging 20,000 live viewers on Twitch, and kept competing at the highest standard, with 2 more first place finishes. Then in 2020, he streamed pretty much every single day, maintaining his 15 to 20,000 average viewers, and was still dominating on the competitive side of things.
Mind you, Bugha, World Cup winner Bugha, just qualified to the EWC Reload Lane. It's like 7 years after this, right? 2021, 22, 23, 24. 7 years after his World Cup win, he just qualified again to the EWC World Cup LAN, to a crazy LAN in Saudi Arabia for Esports World Cup. That's crazy. That's insane. That's actually insane. And he's old. He's on the older side of things now too. It's like old. It's like 22 or something, 23. That's crazy. That's crazy achievement. Crazy longevity.
With another $120,000 in earnings. And Bugha would maintain this high standard for years to come, seeing him make 6 figures in earnings in 2021, 2022, and 2023, all whilst continuing to be one of the biggest Fortnite streamers in the world. Up until 2024, when he started to go live on Twitch much less often. However, he still had a strong year competitively, making $78,000. And in 2025, it seemed that Bugha had had enough of the Twitch grind, with him disappearing for many months of the year. But he was still competing and would end the year with $40,000 in earnings. Which brings us to 2026, and he's completely stopped streaming Fortnite. And pretty much every time he's gone live on Twitch, it's been a gambling stream. But despite not streaming the game, it appears that Bugha is still competing, judging from some of his recent tweets.
Yeah, he is.
If he does retire,
I can confirm he is still competing. And his retirement, I don't know if we're getting that soon. I think Bugha's gonna keep playing.
Anytime soon, he's bound to go down as one of, if not the greatest Fortnite competitive player ever.
Yeah.
With $3.7 million in earnings and 5.5 million followers on Twitch at just 23 years old.
The skill gap in Fortnite is so massive that...
Wild, chat. Wild.
7 years